Wait, should
All right, welcome
well,
back to the Survivor Conquest podcast recapping Survivor 47 episode 2. I guess I'll introduce myself
we
again.
made it to the
My
second
name
episode.
is
We're already
Isaiah.
halfway there.
If you guys want to introduce
I
yourself.
am I am Kyle, and joining us today, a special guest. Is it? Introduce yourself. the name's Michael Fisher. I'm so glad to
Hmm.
be here. I'm very happy y'all invited me out for this episode. I had to fly all the way from Fiji itself. I
Hmm.
know.
Cameron.
Who
He's
was it?
he's currently filming season 49, but he had to be here. He won the Be on the Survivor Conquest reward
I knew
challenge.
how big this thing's gonna become, so I had to get on early before it
Hey,
really gets going.
Hey,
Last episode
hopefully.
far exceeded my expectations. Last episode far exceeded my expectations for how many views we were going to get. Jonah must have had that shit on repeat. I'm telling you.
Because yeah, we did actually get like
Like
over
this
like
is
50
fire,
views, I think,
y'all.
on episode 1. But anyway, all right.
50 views.
I guess let's get started. So last podcast episode, we didn't have any structure. It was our first time, but listen, I took notes, okay? So we can actually talk about the episode as things happen in order. So the episode started with the Lavo tribe, Rome sharing the idol information with Teeny, and then we saw how that played out, which honestly, I mean.
That
I
was
don't
so
know. Teeny
scary. They
got
just
caught
walk up.
red-handed showing Keyshawn about the idol. Although I'm
Yeah,
very
Keisha.
impressed with how Rome handled the situation because in episode 1, he just seems like somebody who's really, I don't know, a bit reckless, who's willing to then just pounce on any opportunity. But I think he showed some sort of self-awareness tonight, settling for the one tribal idol and keeping that guaranteed safety. Anybody want
Definitely. It was really interesting for me. I feel like the reason he had to have done that is because he had the pressure of the other two people there. So if he chose to take that risk, that would have been the other two people knowing he didn't have an idol. And admittedly, it seems like what we've seen from the example from when he got his idol. It doesn't seem like the task to get the three tribal idol is exactly that insane. He had to pour water onto a log to find out where it was, and then it was somewhere. Or no, maybe that was what Rome had to do. Yeah, that But was Rome. okay, whatever. Listen, it's been a week. Anyway, it was not difficult for Gabe to get the three tribal idol, from what I recall. So I feel like it wouldn't have been that bad if he did, but having the pressure of two other people there that would have seen that he had no vote if he chose to go for the risk and he didn't know what the risk he'd be taking was, it's better to just say, can't vote me out, fuckers. And this was a really interesting circumstance for Teeny, who was somebody that has been generally agreed upon to be a top contender this season based on what we've seen so far. But she got caught red-handed here, really, really screwing up. And that was really, really interesting, especially because the edit didn't necessarily protect her, where she actively said in confessional, I'm pretty good at smoothing things over, sweet talking people, getting people back on my side. And then it cuts to Rome and he says, I 100% don't trust Teeny as much now. So she kind of got undermined by the edit there. But at the same time, I'm not feeling too necessarily negative on Teeny because that could just be that they're giving her a great edit, but that's something negative that they had to show. They couldn't not show that in the episode. It's similar to when Nick in season 37 really screwed up at, I think it was the tribal where Christian went home, or maybe it was the tribal where he went home, where he played the fake idol. And then he has this whole kerfuffle where he's just like, well, I was going to try and see what they were going to do to like their reactions. And I just play the real one. There's some things in Survivor you just have to show. The editors just have to put in the episode, and that could be what we saw with Teeny here, which is why she was shown negatively here, is because it's just something that the editors have to put in the episode. You can't not show that, so they had to show Teeny in a negative light here. Although a part of me does still feel like they could have just cut Rome's reaction to that, and so they didn't have to have Rome saying he doesn't trust Teeny now. They could have just said Rome, or they could have just had Teeny saying, "I'm good at smoothing things over with people," and then just cut the conversation there, or just have Rome talk about taking the one tribe idol. But they didn't. So remains to be seen how that's exactly going to play out. But a very, very awkward circumstance. Honestly, Rome comes out of this not looking as bad as he was in the first episode. Very, very
definitely.
arrogant, but Not bad. Not as bad as he was in the first episode.
I'll give a little short I won't drag on it too long because we've already been on this too long. I think it was a smart idea to take the idol for one tribal. I wish I don't know completely with the paperwork. I think if you take the scroll, you can't go back. I think like if they hadn't read the rules, like I think it would have been perfect. Like you just say like, oh, I'm going for the one tribal, and then just leave it for there. And for me in the moment in the episode, I didn't even think about that. I thought he was gonna like go back, and I thought that's what inevitably was gonna happen. But I guess you can't do that after relooking. But
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. But that was definitely an awkward circumstance. But yeah, we can move on now because Rome, fun character, but a bit too cocky.
A bit, but I do agree. I think he
I love Rome.
actually was decent this episode, showed some good awareness, and I think he made the right call, settling for the one tribal idol. So in the episode, we move on to the Tuku tribe, and it basically shows some of the dynamics there, which one thing that they talked about, and I think they talked about this in episode one, how there's this perceived like romance guy girl divide, which I didn't really see that at all. But I guess TK did actually confirm saying that it's not really a thing. Um, and there's this like there's apparently two factions where there's two groups of three, Sue, Caroline, and TK, Kyle, Tiana, and
Gabe,
who am I missing? Kyle,
Gabe,
Tiana, and and TK. I don't know if I said that correct.
Gabe and TK.
Gabe.
Yeah, so those three. So I mean
No, no,
that
no. It's Kyle, Tiana, and TK,
yeah,
and
and
it's
then
Sue,
Gabe,
Gabe, and
Sue, and
Caroline.
Caroline. I think I messed it up. Yeah, so
Caroline.
um
Yeah, you're all good. You're all good.
yeah, I don't think there's really much to say there at in terms of that part of the episode. It was just showing some basic tribe dynamics.
I think
Yeah,
from the way it just looked, I think it was just nitpicked like type of confessionals. I don't think it was necessarily there. It's just nitpicked to create some narrative there.
Hmm.
yeah. I don't think there was anything major. There was kind of just building off the narrative from the previous episode and just set up for later on. This is definitely jumping ahead, but I mean, we don't need to go scene by scene necessarily with the breakdown.
Mhm.
I think this was a fun episode. Um, Crap, now I forgot what I was going to say. I think it sucks to lose TK this episode. I'll jump ahead and say that. TK was a very fun character. But now I'm struggling to remember exactly what I was going to say, and that's really, really unfortunate.
That is
So we're going to
unfortunate.
have one of you guys take over.
That is unfortunate, but I guess we'll move on to the Gada tribe, which a lot actually happened. And I have a lot to say about this tribe in particular because, you know, Andy, what was Andy doing? Like after last tribal council, I was absolutely baffled that he put the beware advantage back. I think he had some type of self-awareness that he kind of knew like he's not in the best position, but he opted to not take the beware advantage. But I guess as we will like talk about this a bit more, and I think it ultimately ended up actually helping him and putting him in a better spot. And I guess we could talk about why, if any, you want to mention that, talk about that.
I, I agree with that, and I don't even like the worst part about it is like I don't even think like it benefiting him is due to him. I think it's just basically
Mhm.
due to Sammy being like an idiot with his words. Like he had like I think Sammy had like the picture ball with the idol. He had just gotten the idol. He had just gained the trust of two girls on his tribe, and then he just like ruined it and went, "Yeah, I think I might use it on Andy." When there's I think the edit makes it obvious there's like a group of girls working together, and I don't
Mhm.
know how Sammy doesn't really see it. Maybe it's just the edit really portrays it like that, and it's not actually like that. But it's just baffling.
I think no, I think Sam definitely does see it. It's just like Sam's relationship with Sierra is super strong, and Sierra said it in the episode. Like I'm with Sam. Like she was a bit skeptical, I guess, or hesitant for a second about playing the idol for Andy, but she did ultimately say, I am with Sam. So honestly, if I have to
Oh, I
give
must know.
somebody an MVP for the episode, I'd definitely give it to Sam. I think he played this episode, had a good episode, played flawlessly. I mean, even with how he approached the Beware advantage, he like showed like different steps and different parts of the Beware advantage to different people to like maintain trust with everyone on his tribe, even showing the idol to Rachel because he knew that Annika would probably tell Rachel and, just to maintain trust and not give him sort of a bad look, he actually, went out of his way to tell Rachel instead of, I guess hearing it. Well, Rachel did ultimately hear it from Annika, but I think still not what was I gonna say? I think still like, hearing it from like Sam directly shows there's some kind of like trust built there. So I
Yeah.
feel like Andy somehow is in a better spot than he was before, telling also Sam about the beware advantage that he put back. So Sam definitely best spot. Andy, I think, is working his way up there.
I think that's true. However, I do kind of get a bumbling sense for not really doing any of this intentionally. He's just kind of doing stuff and he's kind of walking ass backwards into a better position. Because while
Hmm.
yes, like it did work out for him and like what he's doing, that conversation he had where he revealed that he had found the beware advantage to Sam, and then Sam said, "This is a really big show of trust from Andy." That was his best decision the entire time, and he wasn't even making that choice for the reason that Sammy took it in, where he was just trying to get like the girls have it, like this is a problem for us. He wasn't trying to do that to really make Sam trust him. At that point, Andy already believed that Sam trusted him. So, while haphazardly it made Sam trust him more, and now Andy's in, at least from what we're being shown, a better position. I really still don't get good player vibes from Andy. I feel like he is just kind of this bumbling buffoon who's going to be carried along. Honestly, I feel like if that tribe goes back to tribal council, I feel like we're primed to either be misled by the edit to where we think they're going to play the idol for Andy and then they don't, or we're going to see Annika get blindsided and then get idled out most likely. Or would they even need to idle her? They wouldn't even need to idle her out because if they have Sierra, Sam, and Andy all on board to do this, they could technically vote her out 3-2. But if they want to keep trust with Rachel, then theoretically they could put votes on Andy, play the idol on
Well,
Andy, and
actually,
then not do that.
theoretically, do we think Annika would go? Like, if they wanted to blindside someone, I thought they would try to blindside Rachel if they
I
went.
feel like from what we're being shown, like Sam
Because Sam
went
found the
out of
idol with
his way to
Annika first.
and then he complained about having to have found it with Annika, and then was shown correctly having the read that Annika will probably go and show Rachel about this, and then it immediately cuts to Annika telling Rachel, "Yeah, Sam found it." So I feel like we're being set up to where Annika's going to go here, and honestly, I feel like we're kind of being set up. I find it so difficult to imagine Andy going far in this game. I think he could. I think he's going to make it for a bit here. Like I think he'll make it like maybe the Gada tribe, is that the yellow tribe? I think they're going to make it probably win one more challenge, lose a challenge, vote on Annika. But we're going to get to the end of the pre-merge here and they'll probably lose one. And then it'll be like putting down the wounded dog. They'll take out Andy as we move into the next phase of this game. That's really kind of the vibe I'm getting. If I had to make some kind of bold prediction for the rest of this pre-merge, I feel like that's how we could see things rolling out. But oh, I remembered what I was going to talk about earlier. Just going over the broad strokes of the episode a little bit, I was very pleased with this episode in that honestly, the tribe that I wanted to see go to tribal went to tribal because going into it, I really felt like that was the tribe with the biggest question mark, but we got a decent amount from each tribe where I really wanted to see the dynamics and how they would break down for the Tuku tribe. What I thought would happen did end up happening, except for Gabe playing the idol, which did not really get foreshadowed at all. At least playing it for himself was not foreshadowed at all. And that was definitely an interesting circumstance. But I was very pleased to see the Tuku tribe go to tribal one because I just didn't want to see Gata go back to tribal council and have some random boring round where Andy goes, or even just to see the same tribe go to tribal council twice. I want to see new dynamics get tested this early into the season. So seeing Tuku go was really, really interesting. And hey, this was our first non-unanimous vote of the season. That was pretty interesting. We saw Kyle get left out of the vote, but we can move back to scene by scene. I just want to say I was very happy to see Tuku go. Just that was the tribe that I wanted to see the dynamics get tested on right now.
The thing is, I actually disagree with your take on the Gata tribe. I think Andy is in a better spot if you think, I mean, if you look at just like breaking down the tribe, there's five people there. We have Sam, Sierra, which is a pair, number ones, right? And if Sam does recruit Andy and have that trust with Andy, there's three people. That tribe idol, like Sam opted to go for the one tribal council idol. So I think it's going to get played. It's just a matter, I guess, if he does play it for Andy. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily, I mean, you guys, I'm sure have opinions on this. I don't think it's a bad move for him to play it for
No.
Andy or give it to Andy to really just lock in that trust because then they'll be down to four. And if they lose again, I mean, Sam, Annika, and Andy will be a tight three going into a possible mergatory or merge. So I definitely think Andy is good on the Gotta tribe. I mean, I could be wrong, but in terms of like, I guess his overall longevity in the game and how far he's going to make it, that I don't know. But I think he's good pre-merge.
I feel like because I feel like they take out Annika, and then we could have this storyline where Merge is on the horizon. Sierra was already hesitant about working with Andy beforehand, and they maybe there's this unfound or unshown to us relationship between Sierra and Rachel that could be shown to us later on. Because Rachel has not really been shown negatively in any regard, at least so far. I think like she's been shown just kind of as a side character so far and having problems with Andy, but not inherently negative, at least from what I've seen. So I feel like there could be a circumstance where they get down to that four, they're faced with one more tribal before the merge, and they say, Andy has been a liability. He worked with us for that one tribal council, but going with so many different people going into the merge, Andy is such a wild card, whereas we feel like maybe Rachel could be more loyal to us. I could see a circumstance like that playing out. However, it is a big question mark because we just haven't seen enough of the dynamics of that tribe between all their different relationships to accurately say what could happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think like just to do all of that to really secure that trust with Andy, play the idol for Andy if that potentially happens to get rid of him next vote. At least in my opinion, I feel like that doesn't really make sense. I feel like with that, like it's kind of just locked in that Andy would be loyal to them. But then again, we saw episode one that Andy is a loose cannon, so maybe he wouldn't be as solid with them as we would think.
I
Yeah,
think mainly just the genuine worry would just be like whether he can trust them. I think because I think from like past relations of people that are like Andy, like said so and said Banu, like I think I think Andy's basically getting the Banu treatment of this season on whether they can trust him or not, and I think that's essentially just going to set the directive of how that tribe goes, because I think that tribe either goes one way or it goes another, and there's no in between. Um,
yeah. I
yeah,
will say at least we can move forward here in a bit, or I think after this, but I enjoyed Andy a lot this episode. I think he didn't go the way of Banu necessarily, where he was not just this overzealous, completely blind character where he's just going through the game thinking he's running things when really he's just this out there guy on the sidelines who everyone's just staring like, look at that fucking thing over there. Andy is definitely getting treated more of a person than Banu was, whereas Banu was just entirely 110% character. Andy is being treated much more as a person by the edit this season. And while we're definitely not seeing a good side of him gameplay wise, we are seeing a good side of him person wise. And I think, yeah, I don't know, like I just said, I think he has been enjoyable so far. And I think the edit was definitely a bit more balanced, where everybody last season was complaining that Bonu owned, like, what was it, the first four episodes of the season? Like, you couldn't get away from
it
him.
was the
He was
best four
the thing on
episodes of
your
my
TV
life.
screens. Oh, shut up, Fisher. Anyways, but Andy, like, everyone got really their time. Well, other than like one person. No, one person got nothing to the point where I don't even think they were on the island this episode. They might have been somewhere else. but, but we'll get to that. But I think the edit was fairly balanced this episode to where Andy wasn't just this overly large character. I really appreciated Andy this episode, and I am excited to see where he goes this so far in this game or goes forward in this game.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what you said. So yeah, that one person is Genevieve, the person that we completely forgot about episode one. It seems like the editors might have forgotten about her as well. She didn't, I think she might be the only person that didn't get a single confessional tonight. Could be wrong about
She
that.
is.
Did she
Um,
even get? Did she get a confessional during the first
I
episode
think
either?
I think
she
everyone
might have
did.
gotten
One.
everyone did get a confessional. She got, and maybe it was an intro confessional, or it was one of those like 5 second confessionals where it's just like you get like 2 seconds of them on screen and then it's just overview and that's it. Like it's just like them piggybacking off what somebody else said, just like I find this person annoying, and then it cuts to somebody else and they say I find this person annoying. Something similar to that, but I think it was an intro confessional that she got, but I could be wrong.
I think like just the worst part is like every time I think of Genevieve, I'm like, what tribe is she on? Like I always have to remind myself because it's just like I don't remember her name. Like I have to have someone mention it at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I see the vision for I don't. What's the name of the red tribe? I don't recall.
Lavo.
Wavo?
Lavo,
Lava.
Lavo.
It's like
Lavo.
lava, but with
Lavo.
Yeah.
Okay, Lavo. So I see the vision for that tribe where like all of the content has been focused around Rome so far, and now Rome is protected, at least seemingly protected for that one tribal, unless he decides, I don't want to raise my threat level and play this idol, so I'm just going to keep it in my pocket and not play it. And then he gets voted out. Maybe something like that could happen because he does seem to be getting that arrogant type of edit. But I feel like what we're being primed for is Red Tribe potentially loses. Well, we can't take out Rome. Who else is around here? Oh, Genevieve! And then they take out Genevieve, and then maybe if that tribe goes to tribal again, they take out Rome. Although Rome also seems so primed, I feel like I could just perfectly imagine Rome being the mergatory boot where he's just being on the outs. Nobody really jived with him, and then they get to merge, and he's just there as a buffer in the chaos for them to take out before things really settle down in the merge. I really feel like that could be where we're seeing Rome go this season, or the Ravo tribe, whatever
Lavo.
goes to try
lava.
Lavo tribe goes to tribal council twice. They take out Genevieve the first time because they can't take out Rome. Then they take out Rome again. I really feel like that could be what we're getting primed for this season as well. But overall, I just feel bad for Genevieve. Am I wrong? Is she the only Canadian on the cast? I think she
I
is.
didn't even know she
And
was Canadian.
No, I think Rachel is Canadian.
maybe. I'm not sure. But that it's definitely unfortunate if she is the only Canadian in the cast because I'm pretty sure she is a Canadian. And the fact that they're getting so taken off this season is just really, really horrible. But Genevieve, I'm so excited to meet you in episode 3, hopefully. But we can move on. I don't know what the next scene was, but Isaiah, you have your notes. So where are we moving to
So yeah,
next?
the next scene is basically the immunity challenge, which I don't think there's really much to say
Mhm.
there except for Rachel trying to sneak the rice and
Sneaks
put it
and
in her
rice.
pockets. Yeah,
I
which
think that was funny.
It was pretty
Um,
good.
a, a few notes I have. One person we didn't mention who we oddly talked about quite a bit in the first episode was Saul.
Soul.
And well, Saul, I still feel like I noticed him this episode, but I feel like more so I only noticed him this episode because I remembered noticing him so much in the first episode, whereas he just kind of was just there this episode. Like I particularly remember looking to see if he was the one that was carrying the rice, and I believe he was the one carrying the rice for a lot of that tribe this season, Lavo tribe this season or this episode. And that was definitely like he just seems like the strong guy. And he had like that one 5 second confessional where it was just like, I've never met anybody like Rome. And again, this is I think we're settling into where he's just going to be like the guy there. Like he's going to be that older guy there. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be an important character this season. I feel like if he was, maybe they would have given him a bit more content this episode. So it remains to be seen. But beyond that, for the immunity challenge, the only other thing I could really say is I really am noticing like they're actively showing people cheering on Andy so much now, like his tribe cheering him on, just like, come on, Andy, stab that bag. And then they had this whole segment earlier in the episode, just like, come on, Andy, chop open that coconut. They're really, really showing that. They had like whole confessionals about like, I've met people. I think it was Annika or somebody had a confessional like, I've met guys on dating apps like him. He'd be the toxic, clingy boyfriend. Like, damn. I don't inherently disagree fully, but it remains to be seen if he fully embodies kind of that type of person. But he definitely I feel like I'm noticing a lot that the editors really are showing everybody just like, go on, Andy, you got this, Andy. And that's the only other real takeaway I had from the immunity challenge. Because beyond that, it was just TK getting upset at his tribe smiling after they lost, which is just like, whatever, like, you lost, like, you can smile. Just like being pissy about it's only going to put you in a worse position, which, as we saw, it
It's
did for TK.
yep. It,
Beyond that, I feel like it was funny to see Rachel shove the rice in her pocket. And honestly, I thought we were going to see her get away with it, but
yeah.
apparently
Wait,
Jeff
why
said,
why
"Take
couldn't
that
they
damn
take the
rice."
rice? Like,
I mean, I'm assuming it's just like you just can't, and the production just like noticed she did it, and then they're just like, "Hey, nope, Jeff, take care of this." But I guess they just aren't allowed. I'm surprised that's the first time that anyone's tried that before, because I'm pretty sure they've done that same thing with carrying the big bag of rice before.
yep.
I feel like people would have tried that in the past, but I guess they just haven't. Because Jeff had a line in this episode where he said, "First time anyone's tried that, but props for trying." And I'm surprised nobody in any season prior has tried that. But beyond that immunity challenge was just kind of whatever, generic Survivor immunity challenge for the modern day.
I was gonna say, I think the reason why no one has tried that before is because I think that might be the first time in the new era where they've done a challenge like that, or at least with the bags of rice. And in the new era, they don't get any food at all. Like they don't even get rice. So that could probably be why. I'm not sure. But I guess like this is a good segue, talking about the challenge. Going into the Tuku tribe and their tribe dynamics. So I know you mentioned earlier saying how there wasn't, I don't think, any sort of like indicator in the edit that alluded to Gabe playing the idol for himself. But I think I took some notes here, and basically there was a scene where Gabe revealed the idol, having the idol to Caroline. And prior, I think Caroline was a bit skeptical of Gabe. And that's kind of what led him to playing the idol for himself, like
Mm.
regardless. I didn't think he was
Yeah,
gonna
well,
play it tonight. I thought he would have maybe held on to it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
this is where I will say, because I mentioned before we went on, or before we started recording, that I had seen, like, I skimmed through a bit of some, like an exit interview with TK, and he said that like everybody knew about Gabe's idol, which is not unheard of in the new era, especially where you find out post game that everybody knew about every single idol, even if the edit didn't tell us that everybody knew about that idol. So I wasn't inherently shocked. But he did say that there was a plan to get Gabe to play the idol that tribal council. And like he was just like saying like man, like TK would go to Gabe and say, "Hey man, people are real nervous about you. They're saying they're not getting the best vibes from you, bro." Stuff like that. And so maybe that's why he played it. I feel like the most logical reason is he was afraid of rocks, and he didn't want to have the threat of the idol on his back. So it remains to be seen. But I can see some logic for why you'd play it. I just wish there was a bit more of a direct hint in the episode showing us why he played it for himself in particular.
I mean, for my like interpretation of it, I think mainly for the idea, I think probably Gabe just got rid of it because he didn't want the target. I think that'd be probably just the smartest reason because if everyone knows it that you have it, it's basically worthless at that point. And I think he had already worked out enough like energy and power out of it. Like he got his allies, and I think that's all he basically wanted and needed out of it. I think Gabe's a pretty smart guy, and I think he made a few mistakes in the first episode, which I'm really glad he was like, able to fix up on because it kind of seemed like he was just going off to everyone. And I think just with this episode, I think he played it really well with that idol, just like showing it to Caroline. I think that just really cemented it, and I think that just really helped him. And I think just without the idol now, he just even enhances himself better even more now because now people aren't going to
Yeah.
be like, oh, what are we going to do about that idol?
I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely. I think that's not unfair. Go ahead, Isaiah.
okay. I was gonna say like I don't know. He was pretty solid with Sue and Caroline. That's three. That's half the votes. I mean, if he was afraid of rocks, I don't know if he had any sort of indicator that Sue was the target. I mean, he could have played it for Sue. I'm not sure why he did that. And also, yeah, the worst thing that could happen, I guess, is a tie and a rock draw. So, I mean, I didn't think necessarily holding on to the idol was a bad thing, seeing that he had at least half the votes, I think, on lock. And what I saw in the episode, I don't think there was really much, at least at what they showed, interaction with Tiana and like the Sue, Gabe, Caroline three, because I wasn't fully sure, I guess, if where Tiana was gonna vote. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. So yeah, I wasn't sure where exactly she was gonna vote. And I don't necessarily think it's out of a place of building a four or an alliance with that three. I think it's really just she just simply didn't like TK, and maybe that was more of an emotional move uh with her vote at tonight's tribal council.
Yeah. I do think it was interesting because it was odd for me that Kyle got such a quiet episode going to tribal council and being so closely tied in that he only got one confessional. But I will say this, he was talked about very, very positively. When people talked about reasons not to vote out TK, it's because TK and Kyle were so close and they didn't want to scorn Kyle. And I feel like that was definitely interesting. The one confessional Kyle got was him acknowledging that TK and Tiana were upset with one another and how they needed to squash that. And I think it was bad for his edit in that one, his edit across both episodes has been very, very quiet. He got nothing but an intro confessional in the premiere, and then he gets that one thing this episode. but I think it's not necessarily terrible for him in that you could interpret his edit so far as him being protected because he was tied so closely to TK in these first two episodes. So they focus all the negative, and I think I really took note of this. They focused all the negative of that bromance on TK, and Kyle really got none of the flack for that. But it really remains to be seen, and we'll have to see in the episode three, exactly the bounce back from this and how Kyle bounces back. Because if he just kind of gets nothing from this and he remains a really quiet character, then I feel like he could just be someone that the editors don't care much about. He'll go whenever, probably in the pre-merge or in the very early merge, and that's just kind of where he'll fall out. Or he was being protected by the edit because he is going to be this likable character throughout the season, and his close ties to TK were something that the editors wanted to protect him from. So they focused all the negativity on TK and they kind of saved Kyle from that. But it really is going to have to be seen in episode three exactly how it shakes out because Kyle could just be the person on the outs now, being the only person remaining that was left out of the vote. And then he just goes.
Yeah,
Nothing
I
to
think.
say?
I don't know. Were you saying like all these positive things about Kyle at first because your name is Kyle?
I would trust me, that's part of it. I want so badly for there to be a good side of Kyle, but just reading into the edit, I do take notes of things like that. But like I said, it's so much more going to be determined by episode three for exactly how this shakes out. Because I feel like they really didn't show Kyle necessarily as that negative this episode. They showed him not necessarily succeeding at convincing Tiana to side back with him and TK, but I do feel like they would have shown him a bit more. It also could, frankly, be the case that he's just not great at confessionals. He hasn't really shown to be amazing so far from the two confessionals we've seen. So who knows? Maybe it could just be like a JP from 35, where he's just not a great character. So the editors show him when they have to, but beyond that, he's just kind of around. It remains to be seen, but he's certainly one of the smaller characters on this season so far. Although I think he's pretty likable, so it remains to be seen. He's certainly fitting into the nice guy archetype as of right now.
I
I
just think
believe.
so
Go
far.
ahead.
Oh,
Go
you
ahead.
go, you
No, no,
go.
you
Okay,
go.
okay.
No, go
I
ahead.
just think so far with the. I just think so far with like the Kyle edit, what they've been giving him is just like this bro edit. Like he's like that. He's like that like Western boy. Like, and you can tell like because like every time he's brought up and talking like his like confess his like little like couple minutes was just him talking to like TK, and I did like a bro counter, and it was like TK and like Kyle had said like bro like 16 or 17 times in that conversation that we were shown. And I think that's just essentially where they were going with him. And I don't know where they're gonna go with him after now that TK's gone. So I think that would be definitely interesting to see because I think he was just being more tied to the TK edit. And I think now that TK's gone, he gets more of a self like type edit.
Yeah, it remains to be seen. I am really curious to see the way they go with Kyle. I feel like in my gut he's probably not gonna bounce up in airtime that much. He'll probably just be somebody that goes pre-merge to early merge is just like kind of this nice guy character that doesn't really contribute that much to the season overall. But he definitely seems like a very likable guy. I'm really curious to see exactly where they go with him, but he doesn't seem like a core character integral to this season right now. Somebody that does, I will say, and got a lot of content this episode is Gabe, who is bouncing all around his tribe. I think interesting choice to play the idol. I can see some reason for why he would, but at the same time, he's the only person from the three tribal idols that even got it up to that even got it to an idol good for three tribals, and then he immediately uses it at the first tribal that he can. So it'll be really curious. I feel like we're primed for a flameout edit where he's doing a lot, but he'll probably make a decent run, but end up getting taken out because he's just doing too much. I really feel like that's what we're primed for this episode, where he'll be a shield for Sue and Caroline down the line, and particularly Sue, I feel like, because Sue is the other major character on that tribe, I feel like, especially with TK gone now. And I mean, Sue was your winner pick, Isaiah, so it remains to be seen exactly how she'll do, but she got nothing, I feel like, but positive content because she was talked negatively about, but only about the people that we were active, or only by the people we were actively meant to root against, being TK. So it remains to be seen exactly how it shakes out. But Gabe is definitely somebody that I feel like did a lot this episode, bouncing around. I'm surprised that TK didn't catch on to the fact that Gabe wasn't really with them, but we didn't actually see the full tribe dynamics as they were on the island. We're just seeing the edited down version. So I don't know, but I'll get your guys' thoughts on Gabe now.
I was gonna
Um,
say,
y-
okay, I'll go this time. Okay, so I was gonna
sure.
say when Gabe stood up to play the idol, I actually thought he was gonna play the idol for Sue. I didn't really think he was gonna play it for himself
Same.
at all. And I guess that's something we can talk about too this season with 47. Go ahead if you want to say something
No,
first.
no. Just for the Sue thing. I do remember there being like a confessional when he was talking to Sue and Caroline, and this is when they were trying to pull in Tiana because they realized that Tiana was like really pissed off at TK, and they said just like make sure that they don't know that we're close together. Even though I think it's pretty obvious, but like I think that might have been one key factor of not playing the idol on Sue. I think he has to realize that he only wants to play it for himself. He can't play it on Sue because I think then he can ruin that relationship with Tiana, who literally just got pulled over, but might not think they're in a three yet. So he could still have that like one-on-one connection with her, and I think that was something he was really important to have.
That's actually a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
to like hide or like conceal the alliance. I actually didn't think about that. But I was gonna talk about the whole idol dynamic for this season. There's only two idols left in the game. They're both only good for one tribal council. So I'm curious how production is gonna like handle this because I believe in 44, all the pre-merge like idols were found and they had to do a very complicated task. And I believe it was the Orange tribe, Ratu. The idol was rehidden after it was played episode one, but there wasn't like any task. It wasn't a beware advantage. You just simply find the idol and get it. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if they're gonna like re-hide all these tribal like pre-merge idols and just make them simple idols without any sort of catch, because it seems like we're kind of destined to have potentially all the idols go out before merge. So I don't know if they're gonna re-hide them or we're just gonna go into a merge with a clean slate with no idols in the game.
I have a feeling they'll probably rehide the idols, which is a bit like, well, come on, man, that Gabe had to go through all this to get his idol, and then somebody just happens upon another idol that's good to the final five. I definitely feel like that could be something we see. So remains to be seen, but I mean, I'm curious about it. It's going to be interesting. I mean, we'll find out next episode. I'm sure we'll have this whole idol hunting segment. I feel like honestly, I feel like we could see like Sue find this. And one thing I wanted to talk about is Caroline, somebody that we almost forgot about last episode as well when we were recapping the episode. She seems interesting. I mean, honestly, I don't feel like there's anything insanely notable about her except for the fact that I really don't get a good sense that Gabe and her are going to work out long term, or maybe they will, but Gabe will go as a result of the fact that him and Caroline never really gelled because even when they first got together and they were going to try and work together, she says like, "What are you doing? Like, I've never had a game relationship with Gabe so far, and now he just comes to me and talks like I'm a business major. What are you doing? Like, I don't trust you." And then he pulls out the idol, and that makes her trust him. But her confession was something along the lines of, or at least the tone that I got from her confessional was just like, "Okay, so he is somebody to work with, I guess." That's kind of the general vibe I got from Caroline in regard to Gabe this episode, in that they are working together, and I feel like they're going to work together for a bit here, but I don't really get the vibe that, yeah, that Caroline really likes Gabe and wants to work with Gabe that strongly.
I was gonna say, no, I definitely agree because I think after that whole exchange, Sue and Caroline, I think that's the bond that's a lot stronger compared to,
Yeah.
Caroline and Gabe. They kind of like compared notes and said like, oh yeah, like he told me about the Idol tour or whatever, so like we're good, and as long as we stick with him, then we should be fine. So, I think by circumstance, I guess Caroline is obviously going to work with Gabe, but I don't see any sort of like solid bond or relationship between those two people in particular.
No, I think Carolina is trying to like undermine like Gabe's connection though. Because like if you remember that talk with the idols with like Sue and Caroline after Sue's like, "Oh, he told you, right?" And he's like Caroline went like if I remember right, she was like, "But we have to be wary because we don't know what he's gonna do with that idol." So I think it would be definitely interesting now that the idol's gone, especially with that talk. Now Caroline doesn't have anything to really worry Sue about with Gabe, and I think it's gonna really question if like Carolina wants to stick with it or just wants to maneuver.
Yeah. I feel like honestly what we could be seeing, and this is just a random theory, but I feel like we could see a circumstance either far, I think probably far in the future for this season, where we see a situation where it's Gabe or it's Caroline and Sue's the one in the middle and she takes out Gabe. I feel like that could be like I see like the bubbles of like hints where that could be a circumstance we see pop up in this season. And because I feel like that trio will be important. It's been built up now with all the different connections. So we have, we like every single person in that trio has a connection. We've gotten stuff about Caroline and Gabe. We've gotten Gabe and Sue. We've gotten Sue and Caroline. So I really feel like we're getting all the different dynamics from that trio. So I feel like they could be for a while in this game because they really seem like they're going to be solid for a bit here. And then Tiana, who is somebody that we really didn't have much to say on the first episode, really shows up this episode where she's part of the bros and she's not part of the bros. And I was fully expecting her to flip. My heart wanted to see it tie because that would have just been so much more interesting. But I really felt like she was just going to end up flipping. And I'm not sure if I get great vibes from her. I think she seems like she's going to be a capable player, a strong character in this season, but she's someone that I find really difficult to gauge exactly what her longevity is going to be and her win equity is going to be. She's just somebody that I really need to see how it's going to shake out because this was such a Tiana-centric episode that it's honestly a bit difficult. You'd need to see how things kind of level out past this point to really see if she's going to be a strong person this season.
I do want to say actually, if you remember what I said last episode, the last recap, I made the bold prediction saying that this tribe, Tuku, was going to go to tribal council and that Gabe and TK were going to go at it, but they didn't really target each other. Doesn't seem like it. But TK did actually end up going home, so I had a somewhat, I guess, accurate, bold prediction for episode 2. Um,
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That was a
yes,
pretty
it
easy
yes.
prediction to
Yes,
make.
yes, it does. Because
That was a pretty easy prediction to make.
no, because listen, I bet for like episode 3,
I don't want to hear
when
your
we,
excuses.
I guess, all make our predictions for the next episode, I'm gonna call it again, whatever happens. Um, I think we covered just about everything this episode. I don't know if there's any other details we need to touch on or anybody that stands.
I feel like we actually didn't talk about the actual boot of this episode that much, TK. I am, for
Oh,
one, I found him a lot more charismatic in the premiere episode. I think it got to be a bit too much by episode two. I'm sad to see him go because he was such a fun, engaging character. I would say engaging, not inherently likable, because I feel like he lost a bit of his charisma this episode with the pouting about smiling after losing. But I did still find him to be a really engaging character. He's somebody that I would have liked to see last a bit longer, but I understand why he went. I think it was a deserved exit for him, being how he was playing the game. And especially like I need to get everyone on my mindset. All right. I need people to think the way I think, and then I'll run this game. Brilliant. Thank you, TK. That is a great plan. I really am excited to see how that plays out for you. Oh, you went 4-2? Well, that tracks. Yeah, that makes enough sense. But like I said, I think he was a fun character. I liked having him around. I would have liked to have seen his character last a bit longer, but I'm not unhappy to see him go now as well. I think it was his time.
I mean, from watching from like the premiere, I'm gonna be honest, like I coming into this episode, I like if their tribe had lost, like I was totally expecting like a TK. Like ever since the premiere, I just had like there's always been like this energy that just like TK is going early, which sucks because I think
Yeah.
coming into the season, if you like had looked on the Survivor CBS posts of like everyone's like post, TK was getting like all the hype. Like it was like TK and ironically Andy. Um, those two were getting like most of the hype from the season because a lot of people thought they would do really good. Now Andy's still in the game and TK's gone, but like I think it's just a surprising factor that like TK really just burned out pretty fast, and I don't think a lot of people really expected that.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have
Beyond
much to
that, I don't know if
say.
there's anything else to talk about.
I don't have
Ooh,
much to say about
I
TK.
also have one comparison because I really want your guys' like question on this. Does Gabe remind y'all of Caleb from season 45?
The season
Uh,
I didn't watch.
I don't know. Caleb, he very much, and I believe somebody said this, or I don't know if like the internet said this about Caleb, but he gives off like golden retriever like energy. Like, and I don't know. I don't really get that from.
Um, I mean,
I
like I
don't know.
said,
I think it's just like in the energy. I think
I
he's very sporadic, and so is like Caleb.
maybe. I mean, Caleb's from what is it, Port Coquitlam? He's like a few hours away from me, so I can go and ask him. But I
Oh,
mean, maybe I'll go do that. Honestly, one thing I wanted to bring up, which I thought was funny, and it was a comparison that I made last episode, is Fisher. You called. I mean, Fisher's busy right now talking to his girlfriend, I bet, or one of his girlfriends. But one thing that I thought was really, really funny is Fisher. You called Sam Sammy. And that's the comparison I made. I said Sam really gives me Sammy from 43 vibes,
Well,
and I
people were
still
calling
think
him
that carries
Sammy
on.
when he was on his
Oh,
tribe. Yeah,
oh,
that's
okay.
why.
Well, I didn't pay attention to that, but I still feel like that only reinforces the comparison in my mind. And I really do feel like Sammy will probably, I think he gets MVP for me this episode, but I feel like it's way too much of a good thing this early on for Sam. And I feel like he's gonna make a decent run, but he'll be identified as a threat, as he already was in this episode by I believe it
by
was
Annika
Annika, who
in a
said
confessional.
Sammy's already a threat. And I think Sammy's gonna win the battle with Annika because I do predict that's gonna be a head-to-head that we're gonna see coming. I mean, I already saw the preview of like next episode. Annika's gonna be like, "Are you two dating?" and confronting Sierra and Sam about that. But I do feel like Sam is getting a lot of really good content now, and I feel like Sammy from 43 was also at this time in the season, a couple episodes in, really being shown as the person who was in with everybody on that tribe. And I think we're going to see Sam finish in a similar position this season, where I feel like he could go in an eighth or seventh, maybe a sixth place, where he's going to be a strong player, but eventually it's just going to be his threat level, him so much is going to catch up to him, and he'll go out.
Um,
That's all I really had to say. I think we can start with our closing thoughts. We don't need to go player by player. We basically did throughout the entirety of this
yeah,
podcast. So
I think we covered just about everybody. Hopefully, like you said, Kyle, Genevieve, we get to meet you next episode because even in episode one, honestly, was she even on camera? Episode two, I know she didn't have a confessional, but was she even like
I don't
visible?
know.
I don't even know if she was. So,
Like
hopefully
I
we
said,
get
she
to
might
know.
have been on another island.
Maybe. I mean, with the I guess like cast assessment sort of thing that we had at on the first episode of the podcast, like the website that we were using, the press, they completely forgot about her. She wasn't even on the website. So hopefully we get to learn a bit more about her. But overall, I thought this
Maybe there
episode.
wasn't even somebody named Genevieve on the season. Maybe we're all being collectively gaslit as a Survivor community. There's nobody even named Genevieve on the season.
I
We're all
don't
just being
know.
fooled.
Or maybe it's some like Mandela effect. Who knows? But
I feel
anyway.
like honestly, my prediction is we're gonna meet Genevieve, and she'll probably go in that episode or the episode right after. Would be my
Which
prediction.
honestly, that has happened before in the past. This is just the first example that comes to mind. I remember Monica from Cambodia, like she was not seen like at all until her boot episode, and
I remember Lucy from season 33 had the same thing happen. She was invisible the first three episodes, and then the second she got a confessional in episode four, I was just like, oh, she's done. She's gone.
yeah.
The first like ever confessional is gonna be like, "Hey, I'm Genevieve," and then it's just gonna like pan the tribal. Just
Yeah.
Yeah, next person, vote it out. But I really like this episode. It didn't strike me as anything crazy, but it seemed like it was really solid setup for the rest of the season, which is what I want from these early episodes. I got a lot more character in people's thoughts on the game this episode. You got to see a lot more tribe dynamics, things shake out and things settle into place going forward. You get to see some tensions build, and it's just really this is the perfect episode to see the pieces fall into place that set the stage for the rest of the season, which is what I love about these episodes of every season. You just get to see how the dynamics form. You get to see the game take shape. And that's really what I wanted to see from this episode. That's what I got. It wasn't anything crazy, but I didn't want anything crazy. I wanted to get to know these people, and that's what I got. Other than Genevieve, who I don't know who she is.
I mean, I was gonna say in a way, I kind of like this more than the premiere for that reason. Yeah, we saw like big flashy things, oh, people finding idols and whatnot. But yeah, I think this episode gave a lot more insight on the tribe dynamics and what we can expect, in the future. I think we
Definitely.
we covered everything about the episode. I think we kind of gave our closing thoughts. So I guess what we could
Pretty much.
do.
I mean,
Could I?
Fisher.
Could I,
No, we
I'll
gotta we
input
gotta
Go
something.
let
ahead.
Fisher.
No, it's
Fisher's
all
our
good. It's all
guest.
good.
Come on,
No, no,
Um,
no. Go ahead. No, we have time. Go ahead.
no, no, no.
Isaiah.
Okay.
Just quit cutting him off. Quit cutting him off. Let
I'm
Fisher
telling him
speak.
to go.
Shut up.
From
Let
for
Fisher speak.
the thing I like honestly like hate so much like going after this episode like was like I immediately went on Instagram and like people were just calling this episode boring. And I think like on a like an external point you could call it boring, but I think just like internally it was just brewing something really good. And I think that's what you need for a good season. Like I think the people that think like a season is bad is just because like they don't see like big moves every time. I would call this a really good episode because like honestly, it just like gives us more insight, and that's what like Survivor's about. And
Yeah.
though could have been better if we knew who Genevieve was, but
Yeah. That's really unfortunate.
Jeff
Probst like
Probst
the
must
one
be
sore
like
spot.
hiding her away.
She must be really good. They're saving her for something big.
Maybe, or
It's gonna
maybe
be
like
it's gonna be
I
like
think. Go ahead.
just like it's gonna be like Jesse from like 43, just like nothing, like very calm, and then just like prance at you like constantly, just like
Oh,
Genevieve,
don't give
Genevieve.
Isaiah flashbacks. He gets flashbacks whenever you mention Jesse.
Oh, I love
Poor
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse's
Got
like
eaten
Isaiah
by the
loves Jesse.
alligator.
Jesse's my favorite player in the new era. Like doesn't come like nobody comes close.
The alligator
Mine's
got him.
Kyle. Mine's Kyle.
I was gonna say, I think they have done this in the past, and I don't know if this is like a theory that people have with like the edit, but maybe the reason why they don't show certain people is because so you don't get like, I don't know, invested in the character or attach them because they might go home soon or in a really like convoluted, like messed up way. I don't know. Maybe that'll happen to Jenna.
Maybe.
I have no idea. But I think we can move on to like some predictions for episode 3 because you know, I guess that's a thing that we can do. I did that last episode. Like I
Um,
said, I'm gonna make the boldest prediction of them all. So hear me out. So I was somewhat right last episode. My bold prediction, you guys won't believe it. For episode 3, we will receive a confessional from Genevieve. She will get some screen time.
that's
We will actually get to know her. That is bold, let me tell you.
that's a bit bold. That's a bit too strong of a prediction. I mean, I'll briefly run through each tribe. I feel like we're probably being primed to see for each tribe if they go to tribal council. Honestly, the oddest thing for me is my biggest question mark might be from the blue tribe because it seems so obvious, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, is it just going to be like Kyle or Tiana that goes home? Probably Kyle. It could be, but I don't know. I feel it's odd that the edit, in my opinion, felt like it was kind of shout or like saving Kyle from all the negativity surrounding TK. So I'm curious to see how that shakes out, but my gut says he's still not a major character. So I feel like if that tribe goes to tribal council, for some reason in my gut, and it could just be because we share the same name, so I don't want him to be the obvious boot, but I want Kyle to be able to make it through. So that could be why I'm just seeing that haze of like those question marks because I want there to be more question marks there than there actually are. But I will say I think probably most likely we see Kyle go from that tribe unless something really shakes things up, which there presumably will be another idol out there. So maybe we see something like that happen. I think if we see Lavo go, my prediction would be we see Genevieve go because she's just that person that we don't know, we don't necessarily care about right now. Although she's probably one of my favorites, despite having not met her because she's Canadian. But I feel like we'll see Rome play the idol and then Genevieve just goes. And then for the other tribe, I think it'll be the most exciting tribe to see go to tribal council would be the Baka tribe, the yellow tribe. Baka, is that the name?
Gotta.
I don't.
GA
Gotta. Baka's some other tribe, probably from a
from
previous season or this
43.
season.
43 yellow
Sure.
shot. Yep.
Great. Well, gotta. I feel like we'll probably see Annika go. And maybe that's a bold prediction that we'd see Sam play the idol for Andy. But I feel like that's where my gut and my head is leaning for what we'd see. But remains to be seen. My bold prediction. You know what? I think we're going to see the Blue Tribe go to Tribal Council, and we're going to see Gabe go home. That's my bold prediction.
You already took the words out of my mouth. I'll give my predictions. For the Gata tribe, which is the yellow tribe, I believe. I think
Yes.
I'm gonna go against the Annika belief. I think It's gonna be too good to be true. I don't know. I'm gonna say I think probably Andy goes. I don't think Sam's gonna stick his neck out. I don't think he's gonna do it. I think the edit just wants to make you believe that he will, even though it's like an
That's
episode
fair.
early. It doesn't really make sense. But for the Red Tribe for Lavu, I think that's
Lavo.
Lavo.
Lavo. I think Genevieve for sure because I think we haven't really seen the dynamics but it seems that Rome and like his little group have the connections and the people that don't have like on the other side of like that like connections group, the one sticking out because we just haven't seen her is Genevieve. And I think that's just
Yeah.
like yeah.
Well,
For
I
Blue,
mean, one thing I'll point out really quickly and telling you
okay.
to shut up is remembering in the premiere episode, there was that four, which I believe it by happenstance was just the four looking for Rome, but it was Saul and it was the three that weren't, it was the four that weren't Genevieve and Rome that
Rome.
were just wandering around looking for Rome. And like they didn't mention Genevieve at all, but that was noted
Maybe
as a
because
four.
Genevieve's
So I feel
lost in the
like
woods.
maybe, or yeah, she got lost to sea. She's on
Or
the
she's
edge of
actually on
extinction.
another
Oh no.
island.
Yeah, she's been on a journey this entire time. But oh, Asia, my winner prediction. I feel like we barely talked about Asia this episode. She was a very it was a or this
Very quiet
podcast.
episode for her. Yeah.
Yeah, she just I think she just talked about Rome a little bit, but I feel like that was a notable four that we were at least drawn attention to, even if it was just by happenstance that that was a four. And the only two outside of that are Rome, who is who people want to go home but has an idol, and Genevieve, who we just don't even know who she is. So I feel like that is a four that we were shown in the premiere that wasn't really touched on this episode, but the Lavo tribe really got the least content this episode anyway. So
Okay, and then just to finish my thought, for Tuku, I have two theories for Tuku. It's gonna be based off of Kyle's. Obviously, I think Kyle probably goes home in the simple version, but I think my bold prediction is Gabe goes home because I think you gotta realize, like, coming to this next episode, I think Kyle he has more to be angry about with Gabe than Tiana because he knows that Tiana and them were having a thing, like an argument and such. So I think Tiana has the excuse of that, but he's going to question Gabe. And I think Tiana, if she's smart, she doesn't stick with a group of three, especially if she knows that they're just going to go after Kyle. And I think that just leaves for Caroline to be in the middle there. And if Caroline's already doubting and wants Sue to herself, I think she's going to even question if she wants to keep Gabe in the game, especially without that idol, like to really just
mhm.
build that. Because I think the only thing that really stuck Caroline with them for like that little bit amount of time was Sue and the idol, and you already
Yeah,
lost one.
that's a pretty decent argument, actually. I would agree with that. And I honestly feel like we could see a circumstance where I brought it up in episode one in the premiere that Gabe talked really positively of Sue, but Sue just said, like, I have Gabe wanting to work with me. He has an idol. And I really like Caroline. So I feel like we could see the circumstance where Caroline goes to Sue and says, listen, I don't really like Gabe that much. Like, he kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and now he doesn't have the idol to
The
protect
idol.
himself. Yeah. And so maybe we could see Stu even turn on him because we saw like she likes Gabe, obviously, like she worked with him this episode, she trusted him, but we actively heard her say that she liked Caroline in the premiere episode, and she didn't really say that about Gabe, at least as far as I recall. So maybe what we could see is we could see Caroline go to Sue and say, listen, I don't really trust him. And Sue, from everything we've been shown edit wise, I believe, would side with Caroline over Gabe, and we see Gabe go like 4-1.
Could happen. I'm gonna stick with my one very bold prediction though.
That
Something
Genevieve
tells
gets a
me
confessional. That's a bit too bold for my blood.
something tells me I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't
I
happen.
would like to see that tribe go to tribal just for the pure purpose of
I want
I like to
Lavo
see
to go
every
to
tribe go to
tribal.
tribal. I like to see each tribe go to tribal at least like once, preferably twice in the pre-merge, just to really get a shakeout of their dynamic so we can get enough of each tribe, but remains to be seen.
It's not a new era season unless a tribe is decimated to three or two. Just saying.
Yeah. Also, can I ask this of both of you, because you guys watched the previous two seasons, but what is the situation on swaps? I know they've happened,
There
because I
was
like it
one
kind of
swap.
happened in 44, and then it happened in 46, I believe there was a swap, or maybe it was 45, there was a swap.
There was one in
I know that
44.
swaps have happened.
That was the season Yam Yam one,
But
I
yeah,
think.
but like one person swapped from each tribe. It wasn't like a swap in the pure traditional sense. And then I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure there was another swap
It-
in
There
45 or
was no swap
46, right?
last season.
There was
Oh,
a
okay.
traditional swap in 45. Like there was like
Yes.
three tribes, everybody
Because I
participated in the
remember
tribe swap.
it was Sekou. Sekou got like on a tribe with like all girls. That's all I remember from like 45
Sekou.
tribe
Is
swap.
it
That's
Sekou?
from Cook Islands.
Oh, what's his
Yeah,
name?
he made a turn. I know who you're
It's
talking
the Kung
about.
Fu martialist.
Sifu.
What?
What was his name?
Sifu.
Sifu.
Ah,
Not Sekou.
Yeah.
I found it funny that I knew who you meant when you said Sekou, but I immediately thought
why
it was like, yeah,
didn't you
Sekou from like
clarify?
way long from like a couple decades ago. Wait a minute.
Yeah, so
Sekou actually came back
there is
Wow.
from his slumber on day one.
Yeah, so there isn't really any consistent pattern with the swap, which actually I don't know if we talked about this on the last episode of the podcast, but Jeff Probst did say that something that returned recently in the new era that hasn't been around for a while is going to be present again in 47, and people speculated maybe it's the auction. Honestly, it might be the swap because the only time we ever had a traditional swap wasn't 45. So maybe that could be what
Maybe.
it's referring.
That's true. I would
That's a
say it's
smart
probably the
idea.
auction. That's the way my gut leans, but I would say it's not impossible. But I mean, just to close out, I'll be quiet from here on out. I really liked this episode. I think it was a generic Survivor episode, but I really liked everything that I saw. There wasn't anything bad. So I'm just excited to see where the season goes from here. I feel like the stage is set for a really fun season with a lot of engaging characters.
Yeah, same here. I guess we're gonna end it um in a
Oh, well,
moment.
Fisher's already gone. Oh, no, he's back.
Well, I was gonna actually have one final question for Fisher. I don't know if Fisher already had a winner pick, but who is your winner pick this season?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Coming into the season, can I state like my runner-up winner pick? Because I always pick two. Like
sure, go
I always
ahead.
pick a
Okay,
backup one. So
sure.
my main one
We have no rules here
is
at Survivor Conquest.
unfortunately Andy, and my
That was your
backup
runner-up, you
one
said?
is Soul.
Wait, your winner pick is
Your
who?
winner pick was Andy?
My winner pick is Andy. Yeah,
Okay. And your backup is Soul. I mean, we had a whole discussion. I'm sure, Fisher, you watched every minute of the premiere of Survivor Conquest podcast. I know you watched that, probably
I
on
watched
repeat.
most of it. Yes, I did.
Most of it. Well, we
I
talked
had to
actually
skip
quite a
a
bit
few
about
bits
Saul.
where Kyle was just ranting about something.
That doesn't happen with me. Um, but I thought, I mean, we had quite the discussion about Saul, but I feel like this episode kind of cemented him a bit more into what I was afraid he would be than anything else. I feel like
I
we were
think
primed to either see him be like this really fun character, or he's just gonna be like that quiet older guy, and he's the
I
quiet
think
older
he's gonna
guy.
turn out to be like the if you know what I mean, like the survivor like narrator. Like
Hmm.
from the one confessional he got, like I think like during the episode one, it was just like narration, and I think that's where he's kind of gonna go, which I'm not against because his voice is pretty good at narrating, but he's got like a deep tone voice. It's pretty like mellow.
Yeah. Also, does he have an earring? I can't remember if that was him that
He
had an earring,
does.
but I remember someone having an
Yeah,
earring. He
He
does,
does.
yeah.
Yes, he
I
I
does.
just
remember that.
I really hope, and I came up with it. Andy's like making this all up, and then he's gonna like reveal like just like a robot for a face, and it turns out he's like a robot the whole time.
Honestly, if Andy, okay, I'm gonna say this right now. If Andy somehow wins this season, it's gonna be like Gabler all over again. Like, there's not, I think a lot of people felt this way. I know, Kyle, you have
I think
strong
I'd be one to
opinions
put
about
respect
this.
on Andy though.
I did not think Gabler had a chance in hell at winning 43, but he was hidden in plain sight and he ended up winning. So I don't know. Maybe Andy's the Gabler. I don't know.
The alligator ate up
Yeah.
Jesse.
Still heartbroken about Jesse. Should have won that game. But anyway, I think we can end it off here. So that is it for the Survivor Conquest episode 2 recap for Survivor 47. And I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.